Okay, should be good. I think we're recording now. Okay. Yeah, so I'm recording it because it will be available on our Diversity in Water YouTube after the presentation. So that should be up like tomorrow, and we will send links out. So the goal of our speaker series is to highlight the stories of diverse leaders in the water industry and to understand how their identity impacted their journey and how they see diversity playing a role in the future of the water industry. So the goal of the Diversity Committee, which is one part of what puts on Diversity in Water. Diversity in Water Speaker Series is a combination from Diversity Committee and the OAWWA Young Professionals Committee, which I'll talk about next. So the goal of the Diversity Committee is to proactively promote volunteer and employment opportunities that encourage diversity and to celebrate the mosaic of people who bring a variety of backgrounds, styles, perspectives, and beliefs to the water industry. So we also have our OAWWA Young Professionals Committee. And the goal of this committee is to promote the advancement of students and young professionals in the water industry and to serve as a welcome mat for those professionals and students to OAWWA and the water industry. AWWA defines a young professional as someone who is 35 years old or younger, or someone who has been in the industry for less than 10 years. But that being said, all water professionals are welcome to our events. And typically we are separated by district. So we have 4 districts in Ohio. So some upcoming events for each district, we have a YP happy hour that's actually co-hosted with Ohio Water, OWEA, Ohio Water Environment Association. If I have that acronym right. That is on March 16th. And then on March 26th, if you're closer to the Dayton area, there's a membrane plant tour and happy hour that will be occurring. So if anybody's interested in going to either of those events, just pop it in the chat and I'll give you the information for them. But you can also join the mailing list if you follow this link, which is not clickable, so I apologize. But if you Google OAWWA YP committee, that will pop up. So tonight, we have Vicente Gomez-Alvarez. He is a microbiologist with the United States Environmental Protection Agency in the Office of Research and Development in the Water Infrastructure Division at Cincinnati, Ohio. He has 20 years of experience in planning and executing a diverse and intensive research project to study the microbiome in built and natural environments. His research focuses on microbial ecology, including the application of genomic technologies and the use of computational and bioinformatics workflow platforms for the characterization of microbial communities. He has led research projects on technological solutions for economic and environmental sustainability. Prior to this position, Vicente was an Office of the Provost Postdoctoral Research Fellow at Michigan State University, focusing on the effect of land management in the composition and function of microbial communities associated with greenhouse gases. Vicente has a Ph.D. in microbiology from the University of Massachusetts-Amherst and a B.S. in industrial microbiology and an M.S. in biology from the University of Puerto Rico. So with that, I will hand it over to Vicente for your presentation, if you're ready.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. Right? Can you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, everyone from the Ohio section of the AWWA for inviting me and also presenting my professional career, my academic career, how I landed my position as a microbiologist in the water research area, actually with the federal government. And that is something I never, when I began doing my graduate school and even my bachelor, and I never imagined landed or working with the federal government. At least I never even imagined that the federal government provide or is a niche for research. Actually, usually when you start your bachelor degree and then you keep going, you graduate school, you are only thinking about two options: either academic, professor, or big pharma. You know, that's not kind of an industry, but never thinking about federal government or any kind of or state or local government as a public service. So that's something that I'm right now amazing about that. And that's the title of my story, that I will never change a thing about me, is how I landed here, which is a very, I mean, for me, having a very kind of a rewarding journey. And it's still going on. I mean, this is not the end. This is only kind of a continuation what we're doing. So again, my name is Vicente Gomez-Alvarez. I'm working for the US EPA here in Cincinnati, Ohio. And of course, I have a disclaimer, but that's okay. I don't have to present too much stuff about EPA, but anyway. So I'm gonna have like this kind of a movie cliche. I'm gonna start with the end, and then I go back, like fast forward back to my origins, but where I have landed. So I'm gonna start with where I am right now, my current position. So I'm a research scientist with the US EPA, of course, United States Environmental Protection Agency, and what we do. So our mission is to protect human health and the environment. That's what we do, okay? So to accomplish that mission, we conduct research. We are part of the Office of Research and Development, and also we enforce environmental regulations. So my part is to do research and development, trying to acquire and to generate data, information about this one. So actually, my location is Cincinnati, Ohio, and in the Andrew W. Bradenbeck Environmental Research Center, we're called ABWORK. And this is the second largest research facility, and it's recognized for research, bioremediation, and pollution prevention. So what is my research interest? So what I'm doing right now, I'm microbial ecologist by training. So what is, for many of you, what is microbial ecology? So it's a study of microbes in the environment and their interactions. So that's what I do. I look for those microbes, those communities, those microbes that are in the natural or engineered ecosystem, built environment, for example. And these microbes, they work or they integrate as a unit or communities. So there's multiple species assemblage of organisms that they're in an environment interacting to each other. So why is so important to study that as a microbiologist? And then we heard a lot about this in many other presentation, is that many of these areas are kind of either male-dominated or engineer-dominated areas. And EPA, for example, is kind of a very toward engineer, kind of a chemist dominated kind of environment. And those microbes, we wanted to integrate that. We wanted to put that portion of that ecosystem to understand that, and that's important of what we need to do microbial research. I mean, other than, for the pathogens like that, but when we're talking about how the ecosystem work, for example, distribution system, we need to understand that there's kind of a classical triangle of interaction. So we have the built environment, which is the pipe, the wall material, how you build that one. But also we have the matrix, which could be the water, could be soil, biosolid, could be anything that will be including the physical chemical properties. But also then there is this guy, there's a group, this is population of microbes that resided there that are integrated in that ecosystem. And we need to understand those microbes because they interact with one another, they change to one another, and the ecosystem, the environment or the matrix also change the community, but at the same time they change the environment and created all this complex interaction. And it's very important to understand that. Usually when we look into environment, we only thinking about the structure, how it's built, or the matrix, and we put water, the pH like that, but we never, or actually we put in the side these microbial communities. It's like a black box in this environment, and we need to understand that. And this is what I'm doing mostly, is trying to understand that. So my research area, so the areas that I'm working on is what we call the built environment ecosystem, also integrated with the public health. And what is a built environment, William? So we refer to the fabricated or modified structure that provide the setting for human activity. That ranging from the building to cities, your home, for example, and also included the supporting infrastructure. For example, the water supply network, the premise plumbing, for example, in this case. But then also when we modify that, when we fabricate this environment, this built environment, we also inevitably check the modifications to the ecology and evolution of the microbes, including human-associated microbes. So when we have what we call the microbiome, which is the microbes that are residing in a specific constraint of our environment, when we build a building, we created an environment that is in niche for certain organisms, specifically for organisms for opportunistic pathogens that may be resided in this building, that created that maybe create some kind of a public health situation. And for example, I mean, we as Americans, we spend more than 87% of our life inside buildings. That's a lot. I mean, if you count it like 6-8 hours of sleep, there you are. And then right now, for example, right now I'm in my home right now, and then in my office I was during the day. So we spend a lot of time, and we have a contact with these microbes that reside in the building. And this is an area that we need to understand, not only building, but also drinking water distribution system. That's a built environment. We build that to transfer water to one side to another, or to provide clean water for that one. So we also change that environment. And then we need to understand, when we change that environment, how that microbes also change it and get adapted to those environments. And then we need to look into how that the public health could be affected by that one. So this is the areas that I'm looking forward. So how I landed there. So that's how I'm doing right now, but how I landed there. So let's go back let's go back. So this is a journey that is divided in two parts. So I'm native from Puerto Rico. So it's an island in the Caribbean. That's when I went to my bachelor and did my master's degree. But then I went to United States to continue my Ph.D. and then do my postdoc, and then landed in the job position that I'm right now in the United States. So where start everything? So everything started, of course, in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is an island. It's a U.S. territory, of course, in the Caribbean. So I put here, as you can see in this slide, Jose Hernandez. I think it was on September 2022. He presented. He was also invited to present his professional career, and he have a good history about Puerto Rico. I don't want to repeat it again on Puerto Rico, but you can go back and go to YouTube channel. There's the address there, and you can see, I mean, his history. So he presented a good synopsis of the history of Puerto Rico. I don't want to go over there, but I want to know that I'm from Puerto Rico. Of course, we are U.S. citizen, and but we are not a state in this case. And it's a beautiful island. I encourage to visit them, or people who have not been there, I encourage to go there. And it's a wonderful place. Also, at the same time, even so, I moved to United States in 2000, almost 23 years ago. We never severed our connection to Puerto Rico. I have a wife and 3 kids, and we always go back to Puerto Rico every year. We always celebrate Christmas there. We always am in contact with with our family, because I wanted also, even so my kids, one was born in Massachusetts, another was born in Michigan, another one's in Ohio. You can see how much we move in the United States. So we always have that connection, and that's very important for us. I mean, I'm considered a Latino, so we always, and then in Ohio, we don't have any close related family. I mean, we have a lot of friends, and that's very nice, but then we don't have enough a connection with any kind of relative family. I mean, closest one is in Orlando, my brother, and my niece is in Oregon. But other than that, everyone, my wife's family and my family all are in Puerto Rico. So we always go there, and then I always have to have that connection. And it's very important for me and my kids to have that connection as a Latino. And then you heard that in a lot of Latinos, and especially from Puerto Rico, we always have that kind of a connection about family. So where we started, when I have that passion for the microbiology, and that's kind of it's a story that is I sit down with my mother. My mother, she's now a professor emeritus from the University of Puerto Rico. She retired just last year. But we sit down and say, okay, what do you want to do for university? And I say, well, I have not too much idea. We went to those a list of possible options. I always liked history, like she was in history. And then I say, okay, I'm always in science, always like science. And then we think, okay, what we can do. And then we look and say, oh, microbiology, industrial microbiology. That sounds interesting. I graduated in the 1990, and that's by the time that we see that kind of a new or kind of exploding at that type of biotechnology area, saying, wow, that's sounds interesting. And that's what I say, okay, and that's what we're gonna do. And then I get accepted, and I went to the University of Puerto Rico, which is the state university. And then so I went to the Mayagüez campus, which is in the west part of the island, and from San Juan, which is the capital. And then that's when I went there, and that's when I during my bachelor years, that's when I met one of my first what we call mentor, which is Arturo Masol. He's from he graduated microbiologist from Michigan State University, which then teaches lab. And I began to work with him as a research assistant part of the bachelor. And that's what I want. That's when I get into the molecular area. He bring all that technology, all that new technology, the 16S RNA, which is for some people that's a proxy for identification and taxonomy for bacteria. All that kind of new areas about fingerprinting, community profile, using PCR. That's first time I get into that PCR, and then all that new technology that ever, we always only about the first years in school, we always have, the plates and media and all that, what we call classical culturing or classical techniques. But now we have all this new molecular stuff. I was so amazed about this one. Another area wasn't that I get involved into the more into the environmental is that what we call this a topic seminar course, when I had to explore in an area and try to bring or present it a new area. It's called the constructed wetland, and how bioremediation, and we're able to modify the environment and try to bioremediate it. By the 90s, there was this is in the 95 that I begin to, in the 90 to 95 with Marshall, there was a lot of green kind of ideas about how we can remediate this site. And that's when I get to that kind of interaction between the environment, the ecosystem, but the microbiology and the molecular stuff. This is how I started everything, and this is how I'm now. This is my part of my research interest is to the environment, molecular, as a microbial ecology, and this is how I started everything, because this guy gave me the opportunity to work with him, and at the same time bringing all these new ideas, and was so very grateful with him, and still have a very good communication with him. In this case, he later on, when I began a master's degree, he also was part of my my master committee. So after that, what I did is I continued to do a graduate school, but I stayed in Puerto Rico in this case. I did a master a master thesis in this case. So I began to gravitate to the biodegradation, biotransformation, all the green kind of areas, and then I began to look into the kind of a degradation transformation of PCB, which is a toxic compound, a very nasty compound, with communities in sediments in the San Jose Lagoon, which is in San Juan. So I now moved to do my master's degree in the University of Puerto Rico at the Rio Piedras campus, which is the biggest campus on the island. And again, it's the University of Puerto Rico, which is the state university. And then I did my master with Gary Altoranzos in this case. So he's still there as a researcher there. And that's how they begin to apply what I learned in my bachelor into my master, into how to, this case, study, analyze communities in these sediments where are polluted, and how they able to transform, able to clean, or able to utilize these compounds, and then able to manipulate this one. So that's how they begin to, again, continue this integration of environment and micro to my to my professional career, in this case, my academic career. So when I graduated, or when I was finishing graduating my master, so I was like, okay, what are we gonna do now? I never have an intention to continue PhD. I don't know why reason. I think it's I wanted to probably go to the industry, for example, in that case. And then what I did is that I get in communication with a professor in the University of UMass. He would later will be my my PhD mentor, and then I was asking for only do some kind of a semester internship. And then he say, and then I get in contact with the department head, and told me, and then he sent me an email back, say, why you want to do that? Why don't you apply and continue? And say, well, I never think about that. And then he said, just apply. You know, you want to continue in something, you wanted to continue your professional academic career. Done internship is, you know, yeah, of course, will be a good option, but why don't you submit an application? And that's what I did. And that I applied for PhD at the University of Massachusetts in the Amherst campus. And that's when I get accepted and continue this is the Department of Microbiology. And then I begin to work in with the soils and looking into community colonization. Association is still working with microbes and communities, and still working with the molecular technique. And then in this case, I began to work with Klaus Nusslein. He's from Germany, original, but also he went to MSU with James Fiji. So he's also he was also part of that group that Arturo Masol, my bachelor mentor, he was also both of them were friends in this case. So now you can see all the connections. Usually, I would say that the microbiology world is a very small world, and even so, everyone, and that's how I met Klaus with my master's degree mentor also. When they visited the University of Puerto Rico, they give you some workshops. So he was there. So that's how I met him. So then that's how we able to connect all these persons, and able to be lucky to continue what I like it in this case. So my thesis was related to how these organism microbial community is able to colonize soils, in this case volcanic soil. And because the grant that my advisor Klaus wrote, it was about well, by that time we were looking more into the astrobiology, and then we were looking for a place in that can mimic or can reflect that this kind of a outer space, out of the planet, other location like Mars, for example, that we can able to identify or able to understand how communities able to survive or to colonize this barren site without no carbon source or water or like that. So that's what part of my thesis in this case. But at the same time, what we employ, what we utilized was a lot of new molecular techniques. So when I start with the bachelor degree, start with all the PCR, also 16S. Then when I move to more into the PhD, then we go to more into the sequencing, more involving more sequencing, and then how that my academic career have been involved in all this new technology. And then I'm going to continue in my next slide to present how that I've been living all that changes. I mean, like all that evolution of new technology that have been kind of happening so fast with so much of new technology that's able to, to couple with that new information, so difficult, and it's so very exciting about that. I mean, it's not been so revolutionary in this case. It's like the cell phone. I mean, I'm living all that kind of a story about the cell phone. How when I was young, I didn't know what is a cell phone. Now we have when we begin to bring all these new the cell phone appear, and now with all the new cell phone every 6 months, every year, how that is the same situation. How that have a lack of development, and now it's exploding so much of a new technology. And it's the same with what we're doing right now with in the microbial world. In this case, they're more into the genomic molecular area, which is very exciting about that. So and then I'm gonna tell you why UMA. And this is a good segue for many people who are now in PhD or trying to decide or how was the experience or living at this moment their PhD career. So basically, it's four areas that are very important. Is that the institution. I mean, you have to think about how the reputation of the institution, the research, the department, for example. Is there something that you would like to continue there? The research interest that you are already selected or was identified, if that institution can carry on with that. Another important one is for me, for example, and we know this is a very important topic for this diversity water series speaker, is about access and inclusion in education. I mean, people like me that came from Puerto Rico to the United States, it's very important, and I will give some examples about that. The professional and social environment that also is interact with that one. How do you feel there? Do you feel that part of that environment, even not professional, but also socially? I mean, that you cannot feel like you are isolated in this case, and also important the location. Like a place that you go is the place that you will feel happy. So of course, the Newsman Lab is in they're kind of the research interests are the same. I was always looking forward to the community structure activity and the role of the microorganism in the ecosystem. So this area that I always wanted to continue is always I like it. So I know that I like that one. And UMass-Amherst is the largest public research university in New England. So it's a very, top-ranked university. So I knew that university had the researchers, the faculty, also the infrastructure to continue that one. But also very important is about the access and inclusion. So one important aspect that also I able to say, yes, I can go there, is that that time, when I went to the, I applied and get into the year 2000, that time, the university, UMass University plus other universities in the New England area, they wrote a proposal, what we call the Northeast Alliance for Graduate Education, Professor NIGAC. So basically, it's an alliance that they alliance to all these different institutions to try to increase the recruitment of underrepresented group into the doctoral degree in this case. So that implied also giving us a stipend for that one, which is also financial and very important. But at the same time, they give us a lot of support, group support, and other than financial, many other tools, workshop that give us a lot of support. And we have a lot of, the time that I went, probably we were like 15 to 20 new graduate students from and all the areas of the STEM, for engineering and biology, like that. My wife also was part of this group. So when we get married, we came here, and she's the one here with me to your left in the dinner, that dinner. So that's when we get awarded with mostly at the end of our graduation or academic career, that we accomplished that our what we started is to finish our Ph.D. But also we have this kind of not only Latinos, there were other different groups, and we have a great companions and great support group. And I don't want to tell you that it was not perfect. I mean, we see some students that when they were not able to continue or finish their PhD degree, some of them, and this is very important, is that they didn't find a role model that they can see themselves during their academic career. So they say, I cannot relate to no one. And that happened a lot in engineering, for example. They don't see, I see people go there and say, I don't see no one that I can relate it to here. Many of the faculties are not in the same ethnicity, race, or group that they see themselves. And that's what that's the reason now we see a lot of new programs about the diversity and how we integration like that. And it's because of that, because we don't see that even in our line of work. We don't see even management that can be related to them, and that's happening. And that's when I begin to see that in the United States. Actually, I don't see, never think about that when I was in Puerto Rico for some reason, but now when we see in the United States, now we can see that. I see a lot more of those or begin to pay attention to that. Maybe it was maybe too naive when I was in Puerto Rico, but now I see a lot of that. But nevertheless, programs like this one, and there were, actually, there's in many universities they're also applying, or they able to integrate many of these programs to try to recruit all these students from different demographic and group. So it's very interesting, and how successful is this case. Most of us graduated, most of us continue a career, academic career, research career in this case. So it's been very, very successful. I think that particular grant lasts probably for 10 to 15 years, at least in UMass. They continue with another one, but we can see that the fruit of that one and have been so successful in this case. So many people graduate we think about that, and then and that's very important. Of course, you know, the professional and social environment. I mean, we have that's part of your life when you are in your PhD career or master career, in your academic career in the university. Is having a group, you having a group, a group that's able to, you know, get well together, having, you know, during work or outside the work. But, you know, that's something that you needed, that structure, because that collaboration that's going to help you in your professional career. And that's very important. I love that one. I love that companionship. And then also how that our mentor create that. And that's very important. That had management. I would never think about I think about management right now because I'm now more into the professional career. But that time the mentor, I never see him as a management or as a mentor, father that, you know, bring all this group of people with different kind of background together, and we haven't, you know, a very good time. And many of these guys graduate, continue research, academic research. So we always have this collaboration, and it's always fantastic to have this one. So that's very important. I mean, it's not only, you know, like, okay, having good grades, stuff like that, but having a good time and having a kind of a social structure that can support you living there, because probably, you know, you spend like sometimes 6 years in an area or or a location, and that is something that's very part of your life, and you have to have the best. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, sometimes by the end of the time, it's always the same situation. You're gonna hate your mentor. You want to graduate. You want to leave. You want to go. But and then when you graduate, you go back and say, "Oh man, that's okay," and then you're still very, very good friend with your advisors or your committee in this case. And of course, location. I mean, we love Massachusetts. That's a very nice place. Cold sometimes. That's true. But that's very important in many ways when you continue or trying to go or decided to in university or a career in a way. So that's very important. So what next? So that's very important. So you graduate PhD and say, okay, what are we gonna do now? But this time again, I don't know anything about government work. I don't know anything about working for the government. So like, no. So usually, and then I knew that I will not probably continue in academic position. I don't want to see teachers and like, yeah, I like mentoring. I love it that way. I've been mentoring a lot of students, my career, and then doing all these talks and like that. But be a faculty like that, or like, so it was not in my plan. But I was lucky again that when I was finishing my PhD, so I get in contact with Tom Smith from this Michigan State University. So you can see how that everything is still now it's a circle. So I get an invitation from him to be a postdoc, to apply to a fellowship in MSU, working with Tom Smith, which is a microbiology in the department of microbiology. So get accepted to go there, and then I went from Puerto Rico to Massachusetts. So Massachusetts, my first son was born, and then we went to Michigan, and that's the second one there. Here now I begin to work with what we call the next generation sequencing. This is like opening to me all these new technology that been so much, I mean, so fast in that development. That was so fantastic in this case, using in this case 454 power sequencing, which is now is the front. Then we're using that anymore, but then begin to use Illumina. And talking about new technology, a lot of sequencing now. I was talking about millions and billions of sequence. When I was doing my doctoral degree, I was doing what we call Sanger sequencing. I was so amazed when I have only 96 sequencing, which is 96 pro. I mean, you can translate that to one individual. So now I can have information from millions of individuals. I was so now amazed about this area. And basically, I was in this case now from my bachelor degree was working with contaminated soil, to sediments in my master, to volcanic areas in Hawaii. Now I'm working with agriculture soil, and now we're working by the chemical cycle, mostly into the nitrogen cycle, greenhouses, but I'm looking mostly into reconstructing all these biochemical pathways. And again, and this is also very important, and we have a great group there, support group, and you can see with the picture here, I mean, we're taking samples in the, Michigan is very cold, I don't know, from the Michigan area, but what's very cold also. But then we have also this great group again, and I have to thank my advisor, my mentor in this game, Tom Smith, because also create that environment that we can work all together, and we can see, I mean, and you can see from the photos also, there's also different background, I mean, universities are so fantastic in this case that you can find a lot of background, a lot of people from different backgrounds. You can amazed about that, and that of course university whole the word. I mean, you look into the definition of the word. That's by definition, and the purpose is to bring all these different backgrounds and personalities and knowledge, and that's very fantastic in this case. I love it. I love this way and how this works. How having been lucky to able to be part of this group. And when I was finishing my postdoc, it was by the 2011. Then I get an email from another faculty, James Seeley, this is famous microbiologist and faculty from Michigan State University, say, hey, I get a email from a student of mine, Jorge Santo Domingo. He's in the EPA, and they're looking and they advertise for a position in EPA, looking for a person who work into the bioinformatics, molecular ecology, the microbiologist, give a chance, and I select it. Okay, US EPA. That's when I actually begin to think about government as, doing research with the government. I mean, I was all the time into these two routes. Academia was already trying to say, well, maybe not, but industry, which is the one that I probably was looking more forward, maybe that kind of a Monsanto, or maybe some kind of other Promega, other companies in that. But never looking into, never having in my mind have that a government position, be a public service. I have never had that interaction, never have a speaker or someone, or even in meetings that say, hey, I'm from the government. I have not experienced, so I never had, so I give it a chance, and that's what I did. I applied to that one, and then I able to go, and I was accepted to go into the United States Environmental Protection Agency. So my second child was born in Michigan, so I moved to Cincinnati to work with that, and in water. So I was always working with soil related, maybe sediment in some way, but now it's like in the water area. So now I'm research area. So, but for me, it was not so much difficult because I was able to apply what I learned to any matrix. So for my bachelor to my postdoc, I've been working so different kind of matrix, soil, sediment, rocks, like that. And then water will be no different, because what I'm applying into the study of the microbial ecology and the interaction with the environment and the new technology that we're able to generate, all that information, I'm able to use that very easily into the water area, water research area, which again, I was not even thinking about that with all my academic career about water, drinking water. I was thinking, okay, drinking water, well, something, I mean, you drink it, that's all. But now when I begin to to work as in the EPA, see how complicated, how complex is this environment. Even so, we thinking they're so pristine environment. No, not even pristine. I mean, in that way. So it was so. I mean, that's how that changed my whole life. Never think about it. Never think about that, and never work with water. But now I'm working water. I love it. I like it in working with water. Of course, I work in other matrices or areas, but now it's particular in that area. And the reason is why I work into the water area is because when I was hired into a position with what we call the water infrastructure division. So basically what we do is we provide scientific leadership, national scale problems associated with water. And that's the reason, because when I hired, I went to the water research area, and that's the reason. But then also begin to look into pathogens, mycobacterial, Legionella, for example, and that kind of, many chemicals also that included in this case. But that's how they landed in water, and this is because when I was hired, it was hired for this type of position. So I want to talk about more into the challenge of what water research. I mean, into the water research area. What more into the sustainable, safe drinking water. This is the area that I'm mostly in my research interest in this case. As a water infrastructure division, we look into the drinking water, more like a non-marine or aquatic, but more into the safe drinking water, in the drinking water area. So the first one, I'm going to try to look more broadly into this what we say that the current challenge that and research direction that I'm involved and EPA is involved in many cases, not the only one. There's a big list about this one, but this is the one that I'm mostly involved in my part. The first one, what we call the opportunistic premise plumbing pathogens. And then what is a premise plumbing is that portion of the drinking water distribution system connected via the surge line to the houses and other buildings. And that's very important. This is the distribution, it's a big pipes and water treatment and the but what inside of your house or your home, your building is a complete different environment and mostly unique to each one of houses. So we can have 100 houses, each house could have a unique environment. And that's by design, because how they construct the house, the pipe, the users, the people who live in there, how that kind of changed the whole ecosystem. But it's more important because there have been a lot of data that are related to opportunistic or waterborne disease by opportunistic one, and many of these outbreaks have been attributed to premise plumbing in houses. You know, it's not like I mean, of course, the drinking water in system have intrusions. There can be some kind of a problem, but most of the time is your house, your building is like an incubator that what is bring by the drinking water system. And they found niches, they found an ecosystem that are able to grow there. So that's how you get exposed. And remember, we spend like 87% of our time inside a building. So we were exposed to what the building able to grow, incubated, we're able to select it. So that's very important. So the reason is that, and that's the reason me as a microbiologist, we need to understand how that interaction with the microbial community and the potential health risks associated with that, because it's amplified in your building, in your house, and that's a major or important area in this case to understand those opportunistic pathogens and the environment. Not only the organism, it's the environment, and that is very important. For example, we like to look into three. Then there's other one, but most of these are many of them are very important, having in the news. Okay, Legionella, for example, Legionella pneumophila, which is the agent that causes legionellosis, which is a disease, have been kind of increasing, or their identification, detection of or clinical infection have been increasing from the past 10, 20 years. And that's very important for us. Mycobacterium, for example, is another waterborne illness. And then this is not, we're not talking about the microbial tuberculosis, we're talking other one, other individuals that maybe cause a lot of pulmonary disease. This is also in our radar. We have Pseudomonas, but this is only the genus. But then all these individuals, there are so many hundreds of species that are part of this one. So you can see the complexity of this one. Not all of them not all of them are the same one in terms of the environment that they live or the disease that they live. So that's the complexity of studying this individual. And there, of course, there's so many others. Some people, I mean, looking to crypto, for example, cryptoperidion. That's another individual. Amoebas, for example, Naegleria now is also in the news of the brain eater, like that. So that's also part of the system. And again, I mean, these communities, these microbial communities, they live in assemblies of many of them. So they are kind of interact to one another. So it's not like they living by themselves. They also have an interaction. So we need to understand as a community in order to able to mitigate or try. If not, we can. I mean, our main goal would be try to get rid of them, but at the same time, we try to mitigate that exposure, try to mitigate that one. So another research challenge that we have in opportunistic plumbing of pathogens is try to understand, for example, a building. Buildings are very complex. We have miles of pipe like this one, and we're able to detect, for example, opportunistic pathogens in these different sampling locations. So how we can monitor and detect these pathogens in building, and that's something that we look into. That how another research challenge that we like to go. Another one is how to mitigate that one. For example, what we call water management plan. We can design that in able to prevent the growth and spread of pathogens. We can have mechanical adjustment, thermal disinfection, increased temperature. That, for example, chemical disinfection. We wanted to have chlorine residual treatment. All that kind of different treatment or actions. So we like to study that one to try to mitigate that, mitigate exposure, mitigate the growth and the spread. So that's another research challenge that I'm working on that. Another important area right now is is about drinking water storage tank. Like houses, we have thousands of them, hundreds of thousands of them in the United States, and all of them have their own kind of specific niche and specific ecosystem. And the storage tanks are used to store finished water. I mean, that's part of the distribution system. We designed to equalize water demands, reduce pressure fluctuation, firefighting, and then also to provide drinking water. However, this storage tank, because of the nature of how that they function, how they maintain, also created a public hazard to the community, because how they maintain, how they work, and also creating that kind of amplify whatever they found in drinking water distribution system. They found this a niche. There's sedimentation, for example, and then we can see in that in these pictures right here, the problems that we're able to find in a storage tank. You know, there are large capital assets, but however, the maintenance and monitor always have been neglected in many cases. It's very difficult to try to monitor, I mean, or try to understand the system, because it's not so easy to shut down a storage tank and say, okay, let's see what will happen there. I mean, it's integral part of the distribution system. So it's very, very difficult to disrupt the system. Usually utilities or small water system doesn't want to change there. They don't, because it's created more problem in this case. However, we can see that storage tank became reservoirs of, for example, antimicrobial resistant factors, virulent factors, and opportunistic pathogens. They found a niche there right now, and we're trying to understand how is that becoming a more broad situation because of the storage tank, and how that oversight of maintaining may be influenced or maybe creating a problem in the future, or can be to, and we try to understand that. So that's one other challenge that we're right now working on there. And another one also is very important is to, for example, wastewater and biosolid, and also the fate of microorganisms to that able to carry, to contain, to provide antibiotic resistant mechanism, virulent factor that may be detrimental for us. So maybe we are selecting for organisms, and maybe we are able to have treatment, or maybe situations that microorganisms that are not beneficial for, or are maybe labeled as a possible pathogen, able to survive different treatment, and then we have perpetuated that as that kind of factors that maybe are not the, maybe there are probably could be another public health situation. So the fate of these organisms, I mean, they're able to spread antibiotic-resistant genes in the environment, and we know that bacteria, compared to the big animals or organisms, are able more faster to reproduce, able to more faster to also to carry their genes to other organisms, and that's a very problematic one. So organisms that maybe are resistant to some antibiotics, maybe we are beginning to spread that, begin back to the community, and will be more difficult to fight those ones. So we need to understand this case. For example, the use of biosolids, which are treated soil organic matter recovered from wastewater treatment plant, and how we use that for land application, for example. We and then we have been see that, for example, wastewater treatment plant could be able to reduce the antibiotic-resistant bacteria, the bacteria that carry those virulent factors or antibiotic-resistant factor, but not completely. But we need to understand is that we are bringing that back to our source, to the human source, and then we have that problem with antibiotic-resistant genes in hospitals, for example. So that's something that we need to understand. So I was asked me to talk about my professional highlight, part of my work experience, and basically is you are making a difference in the scientific community. You are providing data, that information that is very important. You're trying to disseminate your scientific knowledge among colleagues, through collaboration, and that's very important. That's what I found in the EPA. We're able to do that, able to work, internationally, from other researchers around the world, with colleagues in the same building, and also doing these team building activities. I will always love it to that. And you can see from this slide here, in these different areas that have been published, I've been working on that, areas that is not specific to one niche, but I'm trying to broaden my areas of research in and try to bring that information, making a difference that one. So one brick at a time, and trying to build and trying to understand that, and that's my highlight of what I'm doing right now. Again, this is not my end of the road. This is only in my middle of my professional career, but it's something that I've been sharing all the time. This collaboration. So generate data, generate information through collaboration. That's the most important thing I ever encountered, and that's already I experienced that in my during my academic career. That's what I learned, and this is very important. Another and very important as a public service is something never think about that. Always think about research. Is also being part of recovery disaster group in, or action. In this case, I was part of the during Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, being activated, go there during the recovery part. I mean, and then being as a public service, also was part of the operation Get Out the Bags in Nevada during the COVID. So as a part of the public service, I mean, I was doing my part as a research, but also was integrated, I mean, as a public service, being a constructive member of the community and do and perform all these other tasks that are not related to what actually hiring. So the experience of being a government also bringing that kind of opportunities and to also be part of the public service. And that's the definition of public service. I mean, we are servants. I mean, we're working for the community in many different areas, in many different aspects. So that's very rewarding about this one, and also this is how. And looking in this case, I mean, you can see Hurricane Maria, that's Puerto Rico, that's where I was raised, I was born there. We're also in Las Vegas, Nevada. So they also be part of my, as a Latino, I mean, Spanish speaker, be part of a group and understand this group. I wasn't access. I mean, I was important in this case because able to communicate with the locals in this case, with the Hispanic or the Hispanic community, because I mean the majority, of course, of the volunteers of the FEMA or the other EPA representatives are non-speakers or not or were not from underrepresented or minority group. So me and others we were kind of an asset for the government because we're able to bring that connection, we're able to bring that communication that in many cases will be impossible for other group to perform their duty. And that's very important in this case. So diversity and inclusion in my work environment. And this is a very touching kind of, I mean, I'm not an expert in this area, of course. I mean, the government, like any other government, they want to bring and trying to incorporate diversity and inclusion in our work. And of course, I mean, so many programs that are kind of trying to integrate or trying to recruit this minority. I mean, this is from the website about diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility. I mean, that's how we wanted to portray ourselves, that we came from a diverse group of backgrounds, a full range of, I mean, in the different careers that anyone can apply, and we trying to get to that area. Of course, I'm not in manager position. I'm in research, and I cannot tell about stuff like that more precise than that one. But this is the portrait that they wanted to, or the government or the EPA in this case wanted. However, and I took this information from the public. I mean, you can Google that one. I mean, there's a lot of great effort, but there's a long road ahead. I mean, this is every year, I think by law, every government agency or department had to look into their workforce and look into the hiring, and then because for the purpose to understand their programs for hiring or their work environment, for example. And you can see in this table, I mean, this is the EPA, of course, and the table, I mean, at least, I mean, by from the 2020 to 2021, which is this is the latest one, probably we have like 15,000 employees in this case. Mostly are permanent, of course, but you can see how we begin to have in terms of males and females. So it look like females are beginning to be more into percentage higher than males. Probably 10 years ago, 20 years ago was completely different. That's good. However, when we look into the brackets of Hispanic, we only have what, about 7%. White males and females, that you sum that one, the total is about 65. So 65 is that bracket in this case. Then we go to Black, African American, 16%, Asian, 7%. So we can see how that demographic is spread out. But then when we look into new hires, it's look like we keep the same pattern. So that's, I mean, even so, we have a great effort in trying to, advocate it for more inclusive and diversity. We're still lacking in that one. So again, I'm not part of management. I'm not part of this, how these interpret all this data. But if we look into what we found or what we continue this one, I mean, in my environment, I mean, I don't remember that a Latino or Hispanic hiring in the last 4-5 years, maybe, in my same group or a group close to me. So you can imagine that in this case. So it's been like that. So it's not like it's being excluded. I mean, there's many other reasons that I have no. I mean, not in that expertise area for understand that or why is the reason of that one. I mean, I always advocated for getting more underrepresented minority, that one, how the government hiring or how the government promoted or to this position. So that's how different, because we cannot be we need to be blind about that, I guess. So, but that's very important. This is the data right now, so you can see how that, I mean, and probably similar to many other workplaces, probably local or state. I mean, I don't know, but that's how that is the demographic right now. So, final remark. I mean, I will never change. I mean, I've been very lucky. This is an area that I love to do research. I mean, always, if the opportunity is there, always take it. I mean, remember when they told me, hey, why don't you, instead of submit it for or apply for internship, why don't you submit it or apply for your PhD? That's what I did. And then it go, I mean, from the small island Puerto Rico to the continental USA, to Massachusetts, so saying, okay, let's go there. So don't be afraid. I mean, and follow your passion, that's what I did. I mean, try to combine that. I mean, always, never, sometimes it cannot be possible, but just enjoy your career. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I hope that, I mean, I bring some kind of an idea of my myself and I'm trying to understand working in the government, or at least how have been my career, my path, my journey in this case, which are very fantastic in this case and very lovely. I have very supportive family and the group that I'm working for. I mean, there's one guy here from EPA, Alan Lindquist, so also he's a management guy here, so that's fantastic. So I love it. So I mean, any question, please, or contact me or anything like that, or other, not necessarily research, but anything. So I'm available anytime. So I'm open now for question, or we can any discussion right now. I'm gonna stop sharing right now.
Thank you. That was awesome. Anyone feel free to unmute and ask a question or pop it in the chat. I do have I know we are a little over, so if people are willing to hang out and ask questions, that's great. I do have a quick question for you. So like I had mentioned to you before that I'm in the process of getting my PhD, and I'm constantly wondering, like, will I stay in academia or go? So had you ever thought about staying in academia and teaching and pursuing that avenue of research?
So this is always told my colleagues and the people that I went to school with, and say like, hey, some of them went to academia and say, man, I understand that. I know you have the passion for that. And I would say, I will be the service. I will be not true to myself if I take an academia and then I will teaching, lecturing without any kind of that passion, only go there. I see that before, people go there and then do a lecturing and then nothing, and then, because of course, academia is also very complicated, very, I mean, many ways, you know, thinking about grants, thinking about tenures, thinking about proposal, and all that kind of stuff, and saying like a class, and saying like a teaching in some way would be some kind of a handicap or some kind of a taking me back, and say like, you know, you have the passion, yes, yeah, go for that. You like to teach, you have to go in front of the class, and then you know how to communicate. That's fantastic. I mean, I love mentorship. I love that. I like to get people in the lab to teach about that. But in that kind of a environment, that kind of situation, I will be deserving, say like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be dishonest with the student, and that's the key part. And that's that's what I knew from the beginning. Say, I don't want to go there, and then because of I need to have a job or something like that. No, you need to have the passion, and that's my remark, is that, you know, follow your passion. Other than that, it will be like maybe not in the best position to follow, I mean, to be happy, I guess so, or to be or to contribute it to the community because of that reason, per se.
Yeah. We got a question too from Cheryl. Have you seen in the smaller communities that people are receptive to clean drinking water practices?
Oh, again, sorry?
Have you seen in the smaller communities that people are receptive to clean drinking water practices?
No, I mean, I would say no, but I would say no. I mean, everybody wants clean water, that's for sure. That's you know, I mean, I would say the other way around is like are more perceptive to do not have clean water. And that's what people are more concerned right now, is that my water is clean, is safe. That's I would say about that. Many cases, I would say that maybe there will be situation that you get water from a well, and people say that my water is isolated from anything. I mean, it's more like more into the knowledge about, say that even so your water is from groundwater from this well, is some way connected to something else, or some or maybe, and you don't know that. So you can have that idea that my water is clean because you can look into glass, say, oh, it's clear, I don't see anything. And that's sometimes, you know, blind by ourselves, and how, and we are blind also because how successful we've been all this year about treating water, about how infrastructure have been well maintained. However, aging and new pathogens and new mechanism to resist them like that is creating more, or will be creating more, I believe, situations that will be more difficult to maintain that level that we believe from years ago. And that's what I'm thinking. Or we're thinking that the water is still clean, is isolated, is pristine because I live 10,000 miles from the next city, but everything is connected, and we never know, or we never understand, or only we to look into that, how that connection maybe could be, I mean, maybe could be no problem, but maybe the other way around. So I don't believe that, you know, it will be some very minority about that, but not like that. I mean, everyone is looking for that one. We're looking for having safe drinking water.
Does anybody else have any other questions? I have one more, back to research. So as someone you've had all these experiences, the PhD, the postdoc, you've been doing research, you have done research in the academic world, and then you moved and you're at the EPA, and that's research in a very different context. Do you feel that your research reaches any different audience or has a different level of impact at the EPA versus in academia?
Oh, no, well, yeah, definitely. I mean, of course. The first thing is like, if you have a title, like I'm working for the EPA, so then you have a more probably attention than you saying I'm PhD student from this.
Yeah.
So, but independently from that, I mean, of course, the audience is always different. I mean, the area that I was in my PhD or in my master, the area was completely different from this one. I see both work now. Here, when I was working with water in EPA, I'm more involved in areas of, I mean, into the engineer, more chemists, that area that are now more into the industry that are related to the water utility, which I was never, I mean, during my PhD career, I was never involved in that. I mean, more into the, what we call it, pure science knowledge, to get in that. But this one, I'm now getting to more involved into regulations, also into the private business, you know, because I mean, to the good or to the bad, whatever, I mean, water is a business.
Yeah.
Right now, it's a business. There's companies, there's profit there in some way. I mean, there's treatment that are being developed, people selling that treatment like that. So now we're getting to that. So the audience, of course, is beginning to be more expanded in many ways. And then you have to, I mean, before is in many presentations, so I had to, in my academic career presentation, morely into the what I'm doing, my research question, like that, more into the scientific kind of knowledge. Now it's more into the apply, more into the that information, how we going to use it for this application. And it's completely different how you can the setup. So that's
yeah, that's a good point. Thank you. All right, well, I haven't gotten any other questions in the chat, so last chance, everyone. We have another question. Just in time, Bree, thanks. Do you prefer your research being more localized in Ohio and smaller communities, or broader reaching?
No, well, no, but I would say no in general. What I wanted to do, my goal is to that information or whatever product that generate able to be used broadly. So it's not, I mean, it's not like we wanted to, of course, there will be some kind of a situation that there's a localized event that we need to mediate it, we need to look into that. But what we're looking, or what we're trying to obtain in our research is something that we're able to understand in general, in more general area. And we're able to apply that, and we're able to understand, I mean, for example, in storage tank, I mean, we have an idea. So we need to understand how dynamics of storage tank, so we're able to apply that to not like a one kind of a follow the silver bullet for everything, but that gives us an idea of how to be able to tackle the situation. So it's not like we are working one specific area in Ohio we want to do. We like to see everything as a not as a location, as a coordinated or town or city, only as an ecosystem. So this ecosystem or this environment, and that's what we like to do. So that's but again, that doesn't give us that doesn't able to work in smaller areas, you know, because there are some problems that are for small drinking communities that are not applied to big ones, of course, because the nature of the size and different. But that when we able to look into those smaller areas, we're able to apply or able to integrate that to other locations, smaller locations, and we can see that, hey, that is not unique for your area, but we able to see in those many other areas that you can apply to that one, and we able to give us that information to in the future to able to understand better the system. So it's not it's like that. We're trying to look into more into the process, and that process could be included in could be found in one location to another location.
Mhm. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and for the great presentation.
Mhm.
Thank you all for coming. And I'm going to end the recording.